Hi, everybody. Well, welcome back. I'm sending this out early in the morning, and because I have actually chosen this next assignment that's due, and I have decided. I was actually a little skeptical of doing it because I was like, didn't want to look like I was promoting or anything like that, or taking a side or anything like that. But I actually feel like, news is about what's new. And yet many people had like many great ideas, that sort of thing. I mean, just basically even like just general ideas, which were good. Um, but I do think that actually it's good always to look at what's like trending, and news being new, like what's really kind of affecting like college campuses more than anything, what's being talked about lately. Um, and So it seemed to me that actually what really like kind of like got me interested in some of these commencement speeches recently is actually the talk about AI and how much of a negative reaction it's been getting from students. At least, I mean, I don't know if that's really representative to show, you know, just like the reaction of people at commencement addresses, but just to get a general idea like how students feel about AI, and that is the assignment actually, is to actually get a general opinion on how students feel about AI, artificial intelligence, and its use, no matter on what level, whether it's, you know, um, reading graduate students' names and being used in research for certain purposes, or the fear that many students have is that it's going to be replacing them once they get out of college or in college, that it's actually taking over a lot of like college responsibilities, especially in some places more than others. I've heard a lot about the stuff that's been happening at the University of California. Um, so to me, it's actually interesting. And then of course there's all the whole issue with academic integrity. Um, I have pretty strict rules. This is where I felt like maybe I was maybe kind of a little bit too, I guess you could say, maybe there's a little bit of a conflict of interest here because of for me because it's something that I actually banned the use of in class. But I know that artificial intelligence actually does serve other purposes that other people say is can be quite useful. I don't know. There's a lot about it I just don't know about. Personally, I mean, I'm not asking to be quoted, but I don't want to be quoted, but I mean, I just also kind of join a lot of the students who fear about like how this is going, and I wonder if there's any kind of like controls or things like that. I do see like advancements in medicine and stuff like that. All this stuff could be talked about, but I want it to be talked about by you. And so let me go to the so basically this also means there's actually several people who actually got extra credit that I'll be posting on the assignment entry this morning. And and congratulations, because several people actually had the same idea. So that means you'll be getting a half grade higher on an assignment, probably this one actually, really. All right. And then, but I do actually calculate that, like I said before, at the end of the year. All right, let me just share this screen here and show you what I've posted. Okay. I also have a couple of videos to show you regarding this topic because I thought they were rather entertaining. Okay, I'll be getting to that in a sec. Okay. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to show. Okay. I'd be posting this in a minute. Okay, also, I just want to let you know that the rewrites for the second assignment are also due. I'll be posting this in a minute. So basically, after you get the essentially edited assignments for these this weekend, you will get an opportunity to rewrite them. Okay. And you'll be given a week. This is the leads worksheets assignments. Okay. Yes, I actually grade them much like I grade the first story you did. I just grade them on their accuracy, clarity, and focus. And don't forget that this is also due today is actually the rewrite of the profile of somebody you know. Okay. Um, so that I'll be doing that. I'll be grading that this weekend. That'll be essentially the final grade that you get for that assignment. It'll be your first official grade. All right. So this I'm posting very soon. And here it is. Third assignment, summer 2026. Rutgers students' reaction to artificial intelligence use at the university. Okay. So please do a story that answers the question, and congratulations to those who get extra credit. How do students feel about artificial intelligence use at the university? The answers to that question must come. Now, okay, here's the deal. Now, in the past, what I've done is I've actually let students just kind of interview anybody. But again, ironically, I've had a problem with AI use, so we can't do that anymore. What I need everybody to contribute. Let me tell you, I need probably at least 5 people to actually contribute to the discussion point. That's gonna be posted right here. And I'm going to ask people to just basically do both things to basically, but this is for class participation. Remember, don't forget to both like put on your reporter hat and be a reporter and like report the information that you see in this discussion point. And at the same time, put on your, you know, community person hat and be a person who can be quoted for the story. Okay. So the only thing is like I said before, you cannot quote yourself. Okay. So if, Tom Davis and John Brown contributes a quote to this. And I'm also asking you to provide an anecdote, which I've talked a little bit about before. That's essentially a story within a story. It essentially provides, like some sort of personal experience that helps illuminate the person's opinion. Okay. So I'm asking you to provide that as well as maybe like some commentary on the subject. Okay. Now, the anecdote, what does that mean by an anecdote? Okay. So, an anecdote is this, okay? So it's like a little, oops. Anec- I'm sorry, anecdote. Ay, ay, ay. Wow. Oh, anecdote. I don't know why I'm having a hard time spelling this. There we go. Anecdote, jeez. Okay, that's a story within a story. So that would be something like, so let's say you're John Brown and you're a student and you're commenting on this. So it maybe something like maybe you're somebody who's negative about AI. So you say like, I don't like the use of AI, or at least I don't know, don't be too wordy here, but the overuse of it. I feel like it's taking people's jobs. Now, then when you provide maybe a personal experience, it may not necessarily be personal, but maybe like, a friend who's been through this sort of thing or dealing with it. Um, I had a friend who got laid off by, I don't know, Bristol, I'm not gonna spell it, Bristol Myers Squibb because they said using, they were replacing him with an AI tool. That would be like an example of like a personal experience that somebody would, where you're basically personally affected. Again, and when you're personally affected because your friend's personally affected. So, um, I also don't, maybe like you get even more personal. I don't like how professors, I don't know if it's true or not, at Rutgers are using AI as a tool to grade papers. So I've had tests marked wrong because of it, you know. So that would be like a personal experience showing kind of personal effect, okay? And that's something that actually will really like be essentially part of your story. So we're going from a story that basically is kind of our and leads that we wrote that are kind of straight, kind of on the line, to like a story that's a little more in depth, okay? And those stories actually follow like a certain kind of outline that's a little more in depth than what we've been doing in the past. What we've been doing in the past essentially is this: lead, transition, okay, and then maybe like another transition, maybe another transition. What I'm asking you to do is essentially is to get in. So transitions basically bring you from point to point that back up the overall lead. What I'm asking you to do is to help illuminate these transitions with anecdotes, okay? All right. Maybe put an anecdote here. So while the transition provides like a sort of guide to bring you from point to point, that backs up the lead, the anecdote provides like a deeper point for the transition. So maybe it's like, and I want like a basic, like kind of a general lead that kind of sums up like how your students are reacting. Rutgers, I know this is not it's not a poll, it's an unscientific poll, but what it does is it provides kind of a glimpse of how people are really feeling here. Okay, Rutgers students say they believe the use of AI has gotten out of hand at the university. Okay, something like that. Okay. It could probably be a little more in depth than that, but okay. So then, like, what you do is you go into essentially a transition. So basically, you almost like turn around the questions, or why or what do you mean? Okay. So maybe the first point would be like, some students, you go to like maybe like a subset of students. So you go from the larger students at hand you interviewed to a subset of students. So some students say this breaks down the lead into smaller points. Say they don't like how the how AI has been integrated into the teaching system. And then maybe this is where we bring in John Brown. Okay, so you basically have like you you basically have the overall and you break it down to the smaller parts that answers the questions of why or they feel that way. Or can you give me an example? Okay. Well, they don't like it being integrated in the teaching system. John Brown says he's had tests marked wrongly because the professors delegate the grading process to AI. Okay. Then sometimes actually it's good to come in with like a quote, like a direct quote. This is where maybe a direct quotes help kind of illuminate, kind of humanize the story. Okay. So maybe you have something like, I don't understand, like something colorful, why I have to learn from a robot. So it's first point made, okay? Larger point, basically like they don't like it. Where's one of the reasons why they don't like it? Because it's integrated in the academic system. And then, here's somebody bringing down us even like a more kind of granular example why it is, because it's been delegated to the grading process. Then maybe you go to another transition or another reason why I like it. Other students say, um, AI will take their jobs once they're out of school. It's another thing I've heard brought up, okay? Um, Jim Beam says he's already talked to recruiters who have said they have limited job openings. This is an anecdote now, bringing down that smaller granular example because of AI. Okay, hirings or AI usage. Okay, all right. And then it's kind of a process that kind of repeats itself. Okay, just kind of goes like this: lead, transition, anecdote. Sometimes you might even have like two anecdotes in a row. That's fine. But maybe you like pivot to a new point that backs up the lead, another anecdote, and then transition. Okay. And then it goes on. And then there's no conclusion. A lot of times it just ends. And like I said, you get a quote in there. I would, what I want you to do is to get at least 3 to 5 people in the story. Okay. Try to interview it or try to get an interview. Try to get at least 5 people. I want to at least see at least 5 people in this. Okay. Okay. Because I'm going to be looking for people. All right. Anyway, who didn't do it. Okay. So anyway. So please participate. Just don't quote yourself. You will need to use the information from the discussion point, other than quotes from yourself, for this story. So we all need to pitch in and provide the reactions for the story so students will have plenty of content to choose from, okay? And when you do comment, try to provide an anecdote, as I mentioned before, not just a straight opinion that helps eliminate the comments in your story. That means a little story within a story that shows personal impact, as I just demonstrated before, okay? All right, more specifically, here's what you need to do. Quote 3 to 5 students from the discussion point in your story, and only the discussion point, okay? Nobody else, all right? As I noted in the syllabus, this story, like the other stories, like other stories we'll be doing, is 500, 800 words. So you should have plenty of information in there from that discussion point to get in there, okay? Like I said, the theme the story around the central prevailing consensus opinion with a declarative sentence in your lead. I mean, it could be something along the lines of Rutgers students say they're pleased, or maybe they're not pleased with artificial intelligence use at the university. That should be at, not art. Or perhaps the consensus opinion is more mixed. Rutgers students say they have mixed opinions about artificial intelligence use at the university. Like maybe you get people who basically might say something along the lines of, it's made my job much easier. It's helped me provide outlines for my work. I mean, I could see that sort of thing happening. I mean, it's helped me kind of like set up things and organize things that I haven't otherwise organized. Trying to get that misspelling out. Okay, it means it's like I said, with the client sent the records. Please not please at the university. Okay. All right. I'm sorry about that. That was just bugging me a bit. Okay. All right. Or maybe it's more nuanced. Rutgers students say artificial intelligence has a place in the university, but it's also had an adverse impact on your community. So maybe it's not so mixed as opposed to maybe being more nuanced to something that where it kind of shows all different sides, which also could be mixed. This is going to be due a week from today, Friday, June 12th. Okay. And then I give you basically the structure that I just talked about right here. It's not something really provided by the book. It's basically my own kind of invention, if you want to say, because stories typically kind of flow in that sort of path. Okay. Now I don't have, I mean, what I typically do is I typically will wait for somebody to provide like a story that is really almost like at A level or something like that, like I just did with this profile story this past week. But so I could be sending that out maybe within the next week or something. But I do provide an example of a story that I've done in the past, as written in this particular format that I've talked about with the lead, the transitions, and the anecdote. This one actually deals with overcrowding at the university. Okay. So here you have the lead. Rutgers students claim that overcrowding at the university is a major issue that should be discussed, saying that struggling to find space, college, some kind of maybe part of the lead also kind of maybe like summarizes everything that's being said here. Okay. Then you go to a transition. Students describe the campus bus system, based something that backs up the lead, why they feel like, you know, it's a big problem, the overcrowding of the university. And the first point that's made is how it impacts the bus system. They see it as more of a game rather than enjoyable. Bus rides can be cramped, stressful. So that's one of the first examples brought up. And then we have Kyle Joff, sophomore, admits that the bus system has made her late to class at times, she said. A personal experience and shows how she's impacted. That's the best kind of writing. That's the best kind of reporting, is show how people are personally impacted, not just some general statements or something like that, because nobody really gets any depth in it. Something that's kind of be really relatable. Okay. In one instance, there will be five at this of the same buses. I should say, bus routes approaching a stop, but she could only get into a fifth one um because they were so packed. I think she means same buses. I'm sorry. The buses are the biggest thing, she said. Not the biggest, longest quote in the world, but it does the job. Then we got another anecdote here. The Aditi Sanyar also feels repercussions of the bus system during rush hour. Dense crowds of the students bunch up at the bus door, in front of the bus door, ready to push their way in. All right, then it pivots to the housing crisis. The housing crisis is an issue that students not only hear about, but experience firsthand. So first, like as a way to demonstrate why the high students feel that the bus system or the university is overcrowded, they looked at the busing. Then they looked at the housing. Okay. And he introduced that by a transition. Joff says that the floor lounge at Freeling Heising Hall was converted to a triple room to accommodate more residents. I missed out on making friends because of it. It shows some emotion, that quote. It's a good quote. The Cook Douglas campus, no strangers said, well, Isabella Bedetto, a sophomore, claims that overenrollment has a direct impact on student housing. Her floor lounge at Katzenbach Hall was also converted into a triple dorm, showing like a kind of personal example. Okay. So that example is actually within the assignment entry itself. Okay. All right. So yes, so that's what I'd like you to do. Um, so you basically these are the like ways you could like start it out. Let's try to get these like discussion points posted, commentary posted ASAP as soon as possible. Okay. If I don't see like them rolling in, I might actually just send out a reminder. Okay. Um, all right. Just to kind of eliminate like the whole idea of like how it's been impacting maybe students. I mean, again, this is the negative side of things, but this is actually like an example of like how students feel like how this is becoming like this is one of the things actually what kind of inspired me to actually choose this opinion or sorry, choose this story topic because of the impact and because my own daughter's in college and she's been talking about it and it's like a big thing. And it's always good to go what's trending, what's being talked about. This is a news report on how the different colleges, that was coming up in the commencement speeches and that sort of thing. I'm not sure if that's Columbia or not right there, but I'll just still play it anyway.
Spring signals graduation season and commencement speech time, but one phrase proving wildly unpopular.
The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
From a tech business executive to a music industry titan, AI clearly striking a sore spot.
AI is rewriting production as we sit here. Deal with it. Like I said, it's a tool.
At the University of Arizona, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt faced loud jeers on the topic.
The question is whether you will help shape artificial intelligence. We do not know.
The speaker choice was controversial from the get-go. Some students launching a petition to replace Schmidt in part because he's been accused of rape and sexual assault by a former girlfriend in a lawsuit currently under arbitration. NBC News has reached out to Schmidt for comment but have not heard back, but he has denied the allegations in the past.
AI is going to touch everything else as well. Whatever path you choose, AI will become part of how.
When it comes to artificial intelligence and Gen Z, more than half say they use it regularly, according to a recent survey. But a third say the tech makes them feel angry, and nearly half say the risks of AI in the workforce outweigh the benefits.
If you'd let me make this point, please.
A workforce wary of what lies ahead. Valerie Castro, NBC News.
We thank you for watching.
Okay, so there's one example right there. Let's try to like also remember this is not a scientific paper. You're just going out and get people's opinions, and that's all, and their personal experiences. I don't want to see like any surveys or anything like that. It's not a research paper. It's just getting, like I said, a glimpse of how people feel. It's not a poll. I've had people do these types of stories before, and they'll say, according to a poll taken by a reporter, you're not taking a poll. You're basically taking, like, I guess you could say, the temperature of the air that's going on at the university, even though you're not on campus to really see it, but we are here in class where we can provide information for the discussion point at the very least. Here's how Conan O'Brien, by the way, addressed this. Conan O'Brien, former late night talk show host, now podcaster. Here's how he addressed it, and he probably addressed it in a much more acceptable way.
Now, of course, I understand the unprecedented difficulties you face today, including AI. Yeah, I know. Luckily, AI is not a problem at Harvard. Here, professors have been able to quickly flag students' use of AI thanks to the sophisticated AI software they use to grade papers. It all works out. Yeah. And don't worry. Despite your fears, trust me when I say AI cannot replace you. Yes. It'll be too busy replacing those creeps from Princeton. Anyway.
Just thought that might be like something interesting to see. So yeah, that's what we have. That's what we have due. And we could just hold on 1 second. Okay. So yes, so that's you know, I figure I feel like I don't know, sometimes like professors can be so detached, and I don't want to do something that's actually like not really like I said, not really like kind of talked about or something that's trending or something like that. But I mean, that is kind of what a news story is about anyway. It's about like what's trending on campus and that sort of thing. So here we are, and so yeah, so that's what I basically, want to make sure that I'm kind of like at least like a little bit, tone ready for what's to being talked about on campus and that sort of thing, even if we're not actually on campus. Okay. All right. So yeah. So please like make note. I'll be talking more in depth. Maybe I'll even have an example by Monday's lecture. Um, and that I can provide for. But I mean that's a little bit early. I'm not expecting people to do that. But I have had people who are really kind of respond very quickly to things. But I will probably go in more into depth into like what's expected for this assignment. Then just remember what's due now. Okay, we got the again the rewrite for the profile that's due today. We have the leads worksheets that's due. Remember that there's actually 12 of them, 7 in the first section, 5 in the second, and you write them out in a Microsoft Word doc. Okay, and then we also have this story that's due, we have this story that's due in a week. Okay, which will also be due at the same time as the leads worksheets rewrites. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks very much, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay. I'm going to be doing a lot of driving on Saturdays, so it'd be a little difficult. I hope to get to your papers and everything by Sunday. Thanks very much. I'll be talking to you.